Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey,
I got music in the chat. The term co-host or something. No. Well,
awesome.
you're like
Sounds good.
you're like the Ed McMahon. You're like the guy sits on the couch and laughs at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, you do a good job in that regard.
Let
for
me
sure.
tell you with what I agree with. All right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, good.
It's perfect stuff.
That sounds good to
So
me.
Dr. Pebble Sludge is here, my co-host, and
Dr. Reverend.
Reverend Pebble Sludge, and this will have a very exciting and perhaps short. I don't know how long we can talk about this because I figure we can just. I would love to get like 2 hours out of it, but I mean,
sure,
we probably more like. I mean, we can cover everything we have to say about it in like 2 minutes, probably, but
sure.
We are going. It's going to be a very sexy episode for a like ribald sex machine like yourself. This is perfect, but it's a. We're going to outline for you, so you know now and forever. The very fine line between what's tasteful nudity, let's say, or classic nudity, or otherwise acceptable nudity, and pornography. And so you will never be troubled by this again, and you will never bother me about it. Whenever because I've had many. Actually, the most hardened, wrathful campaign I ever dealt with of like people messaging me and like threatening my life and stuff were like these anti-coomer people because I posted some sort of admittedly let's say lascivious photos, nothing like porn or anything, but sexy this and that, which we pretty much all aesthetics posters do from time to time because truthfully it's honest and it's like it really hits you with it's beautiful as long as it's done tastefully.
What is more beautiful than the female form, guys? Sorry.
Yeah. So those people are angry if they see like a good-looking woman who's like not, wrapped up. They get angry. Like those were some of the angriest people I dealt with. Don't ask me why. I don't know what it was about, and I actually don't care about that. So, but I just thought it'd make a good episode if we discuss that because it's hard, and there's times when I probably cross that line myself because I don't really care. But we'll talk about it. Well, what do you think? Anyways, we may not even agree. Where's the line for you? Tasteful nudity and pornography.
Tasteful nudity and pornography. Well, I feel you have the element where the exaggeration of the human form can lead to where you're defining what the sentiment is on public body image. And that's when you start to get people that will come at it with aggravation. As advertisement was in the 90s, it was to be of the idealized human form, much like the nudes of old, and even in the ancient eras where they were to build upon the beauty of the female form in a manner that was alluring and was attracting and it was suited to the culture at large. We no longer have that. We have an obesity rate that's off the charts, and so anytime you accentuate the human form, people come out of the woodwork with daggers and bloody fangs, and they're looking for anyone that makes them feel weepy as they stare into the mirror in the morning. And so that's where you're at,
Well, I don't think that's what this crowd was. I think these were hard anti-porn advocates, and I'm anti-porn myself. Like
sure.
So it's kind of strange. I'm just not, I wouldn't be at their level of prudishness about it. Exactly. Let's say.
Right.
I think it's overall a harmful thing, like real, the Pornhub and all this crap. But they were more, I don't think they were like you're thinking of like body positive feminists or something. They weren't that crowd. They were like. They were more like, I don't know if they were like sort of hyper Catholic or something. I don't know what they were. They were like, they were ravingly angry about it. I can say that they were really upset about. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not sure what they were. There was, you've seen them around these like, anti-Coomer so and so, and like this, it's funny. It's a funny meme, the Coomer thing, and it's fine and great. But
yeah,
like when they were attacking anything like a woman in a bikini or something, they'd be like outraged. just seemed kind of weird. But yeah, I don't think they were. There is you don't hear so much body positive types. Obviously, I'm nowhere near such people to interact with at all, and they wouldn't bother even trying to, interact with me either. So I don't know
Right.
how much of that there is, and I'm not sure how much they care. Do they even? I know they get upset. I don't know, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But yeah, but I think it's. I'm not sure what they are. The real, if they're hyper religious, if that's the impetus or what it is.
I think I know. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, the trad caths and this orientation, the new Puritan, the cottagecore traditionalist aesthetic. That's
the converted Catholic more than the old school Catholic. Yeah, the new
the new school of
the Protestant who had a marriage breakup because they got involved in threesomes, and then converted to Catholicism, and now can't this kind of thing. Maybe. I mean, I'm being harsh. I don't want to upset trad cats. I've got nothing against trad cats, generally, but they probably play into this. I'm not even sure they were that though. I don't know what these people were, and they were so angry, like angry DMs and messages saying, "Oh, fuck you!" Like it was weird. But there was one. I made one post once too. What was it? And I couldn't get this across either. Where it was like some silly, like I have no problem with making like a salacious post that is intentionally sort of outrageous, either funny or intentionally pushing some buttons a little bit, right? Like I would like 70s like warrior women like with their mostly naked or entirely naked. Like I don't care.
Who's got a problem with that?
I don't know, but
come and fight me. That's what I say. All right.
So I made the one that I posted the most that I got the most flack over was some woman. I don't even know who she is. I still can't remember who she is. She's some model who's apparently like a real idiot. And everyone was like, "Don't you know who this is? She says this and she does that." And I'm like, I don't give a shit who she is. Like, I do not care at all. I never did. She looks nice in this little photo right here, standing in front of this old statue within her like kind of like sleazy version of a dinner dress, But it was just like it's sensational. And there was a lot of flack over that because she was apparently she'd said this or done this. I didn't even follow it, but like I was so angry about it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're going out of. See, the thing is, when we take photos or we post content of this manner, it's atmospheric. There is an entire mood to imbibe with the content being displayed. We don't post things in a manner which is to be fixated on the body parts in a sophomoric way to attract more coomers. All right, so
yeah,
I don't know what else to tell these people. In all honesty,
well, sometimes there is the opposite end, and you get some guys who are like sort of these what do you call them, simps or something, and they do get kind of really into it. Not so much though. I haven't really noticed that.
Yeah,
so much, but because you're not posting actual porn or anything, like whatever. So as far as the line though of actual porn, so where would you say? Because some people think it's like kissing, or if there's there's kind of an obvious. I can only intuit it instinctively. Well, what? Like, so if you could have say some nudes hanging around, classically or whatever, painting or even photo, and it wouldn't be bothersome. But if they were like, obviously, and if even I guess if they were nude and kissing, and obviously about to go somewhere with that really is beginning to be it, right?
Well, I was reading the obscenity laws, and what I found basically is in the 70s, after the sexual revolution, and they got the obscenity laws to be where they are now. The obscenity laws are still in around the 70s is when these laws, which is basically penetration, is documented as pornography.
Oh, really?
Pretty much anything up until is not necessarily pornographic in obscene. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a bit different than I would have thought, because that's pretty. There's a lot that goes on before that.
Well, I mean, in a sense, if you have the when you allude to sex and imagery, I mean, obviously you can get pretty gross with that as well. And I say gross because it's not about it being such an interpretive dance of images. It's supposed to get people to do obscene things with their bodies and, make a lifestyle of this. Make a lifestyle. The Coomer is a perfect expression of this discontent, rootless, isolated pleasure automaton that is the modern day, pornography imbiber, basically. And so,
right.
That's what I'd say. These kind of images that allude to this tasteless obscenity, and it is obscenity.
It is. It's very bad, and it is. Yeah, it's just altogether bad. It does reduce and cheapen things like love and the better parts of the whole thing. I remember once I was seeing an interview with a guy. This was at the 80s, and this guy was famous back then, as people were for this type of thing then, for being Mr. Sexy Guy. He would do anything. He said he would do anything other than mess around with kids or animals or something like that, but everything else he would do. And he was but he did it in a spirit of exploration, to explore and tell us all what it was like to be such a person, like orgies all the time and this kind of thing. Wow. And he came out of it all. I saw him being interviewed once on like whatever it was, maybe Dave Letterman or one of these things. And he said, there's nothing but love, he said. Everything else is bullshit. This was his conclusion, which most people kind of know before they embark on such an adventure. So that was his conclusion, Mr. Sexy Guy.
Wow.
So, I mean, that tells you. So that's fine. He came to a decent conclusion there after his. I think he may be one of those people that died of AIDS or something. I can't remember.
Sounds like it.
I think he was sick at the time he was being interviewed. I don't know. I could be wrong. This is like from my youth, anyways. He didn't look well when he was being interviewed. I remember that. I think he was Italian. He was Italian or Spanish or something.
Yeah, I bet he didn't.
No.
Oh, but God.
Yeah. So yeah. What was I going to say there? You said something there. What was I going to say? I was going to ask you something. Of course, I've lost it. What else can we say about it? See, are we done? Is that it?
Well, basically.
Oh yeah, I know the Coomer thing, the Coomer business. Yeah. So you get these kids or these people, not kids, whatever, people. So you'll get these modern people. They will obsess over anything. They'll label it themselves, and they'll self-categorize themselves as this thing, and they'll just freely do it obsessively. Apparently, like I was suspicious of any of these things when I heard them for the first time. Words like foodie or a gamer, like any of these things that are just things that are like obviously enjoyable to anybody. It's like a heroiner or something. It's something is obviously addictively enjoyable. Let's say. And it's nothing to make like a career out of, to label as like, I'm this and I love to do this all the time. Like there are obviously things that you have to show restraint with. Heroin, obviously, you should never do at all. But cooming and gaming and eating food are things you have to do in moderation with restriction and not look at as, because there are things that obviously everybody loves, is enjoyable. So you don't have to say you are this. It lets them enter this categorization. People love to categorize themselves and say, "Oh, I'm this," I guess. But I don't know anybody that loves to say I'm a Coomer, I guess. But they fall into it. I mean, I don't know. I've never known anybody that ruined their life over such a thing, personally.
Over pornography.
People that just just did nothing but jerk off. I've read stories about people that they couldn't maintain a relationship and they couldn't do this and that. They were hooked on it. Like they would just I don't know, just I guess jerk off all night long. I don't know.
But most divorces because of pornography.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, cite pornography because of inability to perform in the bedroom, things of this, that kind of behavior.
So it's lack of self-restraint, because all you have to do is
it is.
All you have to do is go a week without jerking off, and you will perform Hercules.
Whoa, Mr. Puritanical.
Well, I'm saying or not even a week, a few days probably, really. So it's a total lack of restraint in that regard.
I mean, if we're going to be, role models here, I would say just don't. Period. Yeah.
Don't what? Don't look at porn.
Don't look at porn. Don't jerk off. Go meet women. It's like not. Just go be funny. Say something smart.
Well, I didn't imagine us talking about this to this level of detail.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I could say, don't jerk off, like never jerk off. I mean, that's a bit much, And if you are going to jerk off, just use your imagination. It's 100 times better, and then there's nothing to get connected to, or you know what I mean. Like,
yeah,
never jerking off is maybe extreme. I think. I don't know. But if you can, people do it. Obviously, you get, I've seen and read many things that there's many advantages to doing that.
Pornography is a weapon. It is used as it decreases the vitality of the group that imbibes it, and therefore they keep their mind centrified on receiving that dopamine hit. So it frees up any other population to circumvent and do what they will with this cow-tailed population that's just chasing their own tail. It's not a tail,
right? Yeah. It definitely has an overall degenerative effect all around. But so another thing you could talk about is the nudes, the preponderance of nudity in classical art, which I wrote about in my book, and I wrote other articles about it.
Yeah.
Like say the nude, the Greek idea of the heroic nude, which was always in the sculpture, like so that people would be shown nude, even just unnecessarily, like just, they'd be dressed like everywhere except from the waist down or something.
Sure.
And I think it was just I read different theories. There was all these, and the fact that, say they wouldn't show the men having like giant peckers and things.
Right.
And I remember hearing a theory people used to always say, oh, it's because they associated giant peckers with barbarians or something. But I don't think that was it at all. It was this is my own idea. Maybe others have said this, but I came up with this myself, is that they wanted to show, they had the concept of heroic nudity, which is to show like total unabashed, like exposed honesty of the person or yourself, like before the gods, let's say, or even godlike as much as you could. Which, like, they used to go into battle nude if and when they could, the Greeks, and I think the Romans to a lesser degree. But so it was tied up with courage and honesty, just to be like totally, before God, here you are, no clothes, nothing. But then to portray it in the sculpture and the painting was to idealize it in the godlike fashion. So you wanted to show people nude, men and women, but you didn't want to do it sexually. This is the trick of the Hellenic idealized sculpture and the paint and the way they drew people and stuff, like not just the nose, but the body and everything. I figure it was to show them nude, but not sexually. Like, think of it, if someone did a modern day nude, generally when they do, it's totally like in a realist fashion, let's say, it's totally warts and all, plain detail, like,
yes,
of the person. You know what I mean? It's not idealized in that fashion. And if they show them naked, especially, it'll be totally like sexual or laughable in some way. There'll be some juvenile element of that. If it's a woman, it should be all totally curvy and like just sexy or whatever, So they had a style of idealizing, where you see like the way they would sculpt the women would be very, the breasts would be very sort of, what's the term? Like sort of smallish but conical, and that you'd have that, not an hourglass figure, but a very sort of motherly, matronly figure with like wide hips and stuff, but like smoothing out down it was always the same. Even if you did a portrait of somebody else, to make them idealized in the godlike way would be to follow this way and to show them nude. So the idea was to portray the nude non-sexually, to give it that feeling of the divine, nude and heroically nude and beautiful, but not sexual. So that was the trick, I think, that they were trying to do. What do you think? And that's not an easy thing to do.
I would agree. I mean, with the nudes of with the smaller parts involved, was to keep the eye moving over the figure in a way that was tasteful, that you were looking for the expertise of the craft of the artist, and then also obviously who the art was made of, and if it was about a figure in history, it would need to be recognizable in a way, and still accentuated the 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 prowess of the artist, but also accentuated the beauty, or it still resembled the person in which they were creating the figure of, I would say.
Yeah, but there was a concept of idealization always, of
Yes.
like getting it idealized, and so that recognizable style. And even when they believed that, I read that when they went through the Eleusinian mysteries, they all would get nude and just be like, you know, the way you are when you're born or when you die, like sort of just without shame or just heroic, to be heroic about it. You know, it is kind of heroic to get nude.
Well, and you know, in Egypt, the way that they gave presence and power in a piece was to make the what is it? What's the king of, you know, like the emperor of Egypt, Pharaoh? Yeah, they would make the Pharaoh much larger than the other characters, and that's how you knew he was the Pharaoh. You know? So it is interesting because throughout time, this accentuation of the position of power is idolized in different forms. For example, you know, for a voluptuous, a child-rearing woman, that was very attractive in the late Renaissance, and so therefore you look at the paintings of the late Renaissance, and a lot of people are much larger.
Like Rubens.
Exactly. I was just looking at some Rubens yesterday, so that was I mean, we were looking at it in a book, but still.
It goes to show that all throughout history, in art, there was nudes, and the nude was exemplified because he wanted to show humans and the human condition and so forth, and related to nature and religion. And nudity was always, even in the high Christian ages, you know, nudity was in art. You know, there's even those, you ever see those weird church gargoyles often like, it's very pagan, but it's like Joseph or other church characters like pulling their beard and like holding their dick in their other hand.
No,
it's weird. It's something to do with it's like an early medieval habit. It's obviously like a pagan folky layover thing. It's something to do with being virile and you know, stuff like this. You know, just weird things that don't fit in with the puritanical stuff. Really, in terms of that sex attitude, was the way we think of it now was really sort of, I think that was it more like the Cromwellian era kind of thing, where they really cracked down on it, even though shortly after and up till now, even you would say the descendants of those Puritans are some of the more loosely freewheeling sexually than other religions. But I don't know, maybe I'm
freewheeling.
Well, there's sort of the traditional Protestant attitude to sex is different than the Catholic, let's say. And I haven't noticed it, so it's not, you know, that's, what can I say about it? I don't know. My father was from Cornwall, so I'm sort of half Protestant English and half Catholic Irish, so I can see maybe both. And I grew up in Canada, which is very waspy place, but I can see there's definitely, that's another, like, say, shock value thing when I moved here. There would be an attitude, which is a lingering traditional attitude, like even now people would be kind of slightly, they wouldn't say it openly, but they'd be like a little bit scandalous by people who are divorced and stuff like that. They'd be like, oh, these kind of things.
That's interesting. You definitely don't have that in America. It's kind of celebrated at this point. You know, this is your first divorce. You know, that kind of shit.
Yeah. But anyways, what was my point there? I guess that was the point. This is what I mean about this topic is, like, what else can we say about it? We've outlined for you where the line is, I think. Did we agree? Like, sort of, well, you said penetration was the official, but
yeah.
Did you ever see, there's a movie, I saw it years ago, Ecstasy, which was the first movie portraying an orgasm or something, supposedly, but it doesn't really. It's got Hedy Lamarr, that beautiful woman it's from 1930, I want to say 33, 35. I don't know. It was before the war.
Times, put it that way.
Yeah. Hedy, do you know Hedy Lamarr? She was a gorgeous woman.
No.
They try to credit her now with like inventing something to do with technology and using the cell phone or something, but that's bullshit. She basically like took it from her husband and brought it across the lines during the war or something like that. Although I did read something else once before that she was technically involved in it as well, but I don't know. You can never tell these days. But she was in this movie, and she's a beautiful woman, and it just shows it's kind of like hokey. It's very, you know, it's like a black and white. Is it silent movie, or has it got sound even? Can't remember. I remember it was a favorite of Mussolini. He had one of the original copies of it, Ecstasy, and it's famous for her. There's a scene where this guy, basically, her lover, like basically, dare I say, goes down on her more or less, right? Doesn't really show it, and this, like for the 30s, that's quite scandalous. But it just shows him doing something. He kind of vanishes out of the scene, and then it shows her for a few minutes, kind of apparently having an orgasm just with her face, right?
Well, around that time,
it shows her naked a couple times, running through the woods and stuff.
Yeah, it makes a little sense because around that time there was somewhat of a sexual revolution that was happening in Germany and in Europe. So you said this is an Italian movie. Is that what you just said?
Ecstasy? No, I don't think it was. Mussolini was a big fan of it. Was it German? Okay. It might have been German.
Oh, well, of course. Yeah, that makes total sense if it was German.
Yeah, because they had that kind of like nudity stuff going on then, and
especially in Berlin. Well, it was being it was starting to.
I could be wrong. It might even be English. I really don't remember. This is like I saw it like years and years ago. Yeah, but, hey, you should look it up. I mean, she was a beautiful specimen, the Hedy Lamarr. Anyways,
interesting.
But yeah. So what else can we say about it?
Well, I do. I have something to say. Basically, with pornography, breaking down the walls of obscenity as the sexual revolutions did. I mean, things happen. And then in the 60s with Berkeley, they started basically to pick up where they left off. And so with, you know, the sexual revolution in the 60s in Berkeley, you had Ginsberg with NAMBLA, you had William S. Burroughs with The Naked Lunch, which was contested in court under obscenity laws. And so they were very cynical about it. And, you know, this is when they had so many minds with the Frankfurt School and all these other ways to critique and you know, build upon this cynicism to where they could get this product, which is, you know, sexual content, pornography, into the society in a way that the society would receive it. And that was always the problem, was making, because if you would have sold pornography in, let's say, the 1600s, right, you probably would have been put to death. Now, however,
well, I don't know, like the way we have pornography and the way we have would not even occur to them, it seems like, back then, because they would have things. There would be guys that would be selling. There would be like naked. Have you seen like erotic art from like Renaissance and late medieval? It does exist. Like there was something of a trade there of sorts of people doing it, but it was always art. It was always drawings and paintings and things. And some of it was pretty outrageous, frankly. But
I bet.
So it did exist. It wasn't like it didn't exist. It's like their attitude was different, I would say. Like, but anyways, finish. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're fine. I actually didn't know that. I was just saying, you basically, you know, let's say you can do it in back rooms. I mean, people did like stag films and things like that. I'm talking about mainstream society, where you had to acclimate the society to receive this product, and also, you know, with the advent of, you know, more industrialization and printing and this, you were able to get it into more eyes, and so that would be something to get people where they needed to be, in the likes of seeing the product and becoming adjusted to it.
Yeah, I think it's more like, even in the 60s, people, even when they were doing their free love thing, you know, it did lead to other things. It was more, I always feel like they were hijacked. The likes of Ginsberg and that really hijacked other people and like steered them in a certain direction. you know, there was like a lot of that kind of carry on.
But they also crashed the ship because,
yeah,
they also crashed the ship because
they crashed the ship.
Yeah,
they did crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt they crashed the ship. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but some things about them were okay still, and it was, and if they hadn't been quite so hijacked the way they were, if it had gone in a different direction, maybe it could be different. Because what we have now, from the end product of that, is like every generation wants to recycle or rebirth what they had or did. Everyone thinks now it's the duty or right or natural thing of the young generation to be like a hippie revolution. Basically, they go to their Glastonbury's and their things, and they think they're doing Woodstock and all the rest of it all over again. But really, they're in like a recycled corporate illusion recreation of that, where it's managed and controlled and fed to them. You know what I mean? And that includes the sex stuff. It's more like now, and now they're pushed into like sex as, they've really sold sex as identities and things more, and that you can go to and like
Absolutely.
it rule like, so that it's like it has a hierarchy in your life above many other things where it shouldn't be, and rules top down over things that naturally it should not. You know, it should be where you change other things in your life to adopt to sex reasons, where it's really this, you know, sex has a purpose, obviously. And there's a joy to it. There's a sort of conquest joy in it, and it's like always going to be there as either necessity or a desire, or you know, it's like a goal, like gold and land in some ways. But like ultimately it does have that purpose, that Darwinian purpose, let's say. And when you are ruled over it if you let it rule over you to an unhealthy degree, where it's ruining or affecting your life in other ways, then, you know, that's just silly, because especially it's one of those things that does not truly improve or bring goodness into your life. I mean, it's necessary, and it's like one of those things that's like a facet of life that's unavoidable and enjoyable and good and fine, but it if you put it out of its place in the hierarchy, it will be destructive.
As with anything. Yeah, I agree. As with anything, we have a situation where you don't have a middle ground position you can take, whereas you have, you know, the Coomers and the anti-Coomers, and so they the terms are great. But anyway,
yeah, it is good.
What I've seen recently is the radical anti-Coomers are positioning themselves to be in opposition to Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel paintings because of the nudity. Other paintings in cathedrals because of obscenity and nudity, which is just
I
mean, it brings people to this decision to where they can be on that side, or the only way to rebel to it is go to complete different route, or the complete opposite route. There's nobody that's in the middle saying that, you know what, let's keep this in the church because it's beautiful, and it's also a sign of our ability as a species, and maybe not jerk off every 5 seconds. There's nobody out there doing that. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, there is people out there doing that, but you know, it's just like anything else. I mean, you have to have an extreme active position on shit, or
yeah,
you know,
that's a good little quote right there. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, the anti-Coomers, you're right. Yeah, they're a bit overzealous, that's for sure. I just like to know what they are. What's their actual, what gives them this impetus? Like, because I remember I did another post. Yeah, I think it was Artemis or something, and it was like she was naked with her bow and a stag, or you know, some typical depiction of Artemis, and they were like, take down this vile pornography now, or like demanding, or you know, and I was like, oh Jesus, like this is insane, like. But yeah, so whatever they're. Is it religion, or is it just that? Yeah, well, this is the way humans operate, though, right? Just like what we see now in the world, and all various consequences and degrees over everything is you take any position or idea or concept that people get into, and they will take it then to an extreme, and then a deeply unhealthy extreme, and then there'll be a reverse which will also go in the extreme. And it's like this is another Greek idea, particularly Aristotelian, or is it Platonic originally? It is Platonic originally, of balance and harmony, which is also like the idealizing of the sculptures, which is in your life, and it applies to everything in your life where you, not that there isn't times to be extreme to a certain degree, but in anything you can think or do, you should look at all the points and try to find a harmony, a balance, and don't go to that extreme. So the Coomers, you know, even if you've decided, okay, I'm going to look at porn or something, don't do it all fucking day long and like destroy your life and don't have a girlfriend or anything. And the anti-Hoomers, it's great to be against porn, but don't be like tearing down, don't become iconoclasts and tear down the statue of Artemis, for God's sake. You know, find the balance. Seek the balance. Remember, balance is important. Virtue.
And I notice a lot of these extreme positions always come down to the same thing. It's always about tearing down buildings, tearing down art, tearing down, burning theological traditions of old, to make sure that it fits within this uncritical realm of sophistry or just malaise tradition. Yeah. The tradition of rootless boredom.
Yeah. Well, people seem naturally to gravitate to these extremes. This is why there's the idea of the mob itself is like as a dangerous wild animal. That's why you need to try to seek out and promote the responsible leadership, and to have it as, you know, to give it as much, once you've done everything you can to get it as responsible and as ideal as you can, then you give it as much power as you can, frankly, because it's a hard job, an unwanted job, to do it properly. And to control the mob and its extremes and to exert balance it's not just wielding power as in you get to like be Mr. Power and enjoy all the fruits of being able to do whatever you want. It's more like an intense responsibility involving hard decisions. It's certainly in reigning in these extremes. Say if we had anything resembling like a real leadership, some of the stuff would not be a problem. You wouldn't even begin to go there. You'd be like, okay, look, you'd promote values and virtues that we used to, like self-sufficiency, everything, balance and harmony, like everything in what's the word? Not balance again, but in moderation, I guess. Like pretty much everything in moderation. Don't go to extremes on anything. And various other classical virtues that should be promoted. And to promote things, you have to make laws about them, and you have to punish those that break those laws. So you have to be able to do things like this. But what we have now is a leadership that doesn't believe in virtue, that virtue matters for anything. Or that people should abstain from anything for any reason. They can, if they want to seek any pleasure they want, they're open to do it as long as it's not hurting anyone, and as long as it's provided lawfully by such a corporation and product that they can imbibe. And that's why we have like mass pornography of almost any kind, or actually literally any kind. And apparently, like the fairly gross stuff now often leads many people down even darker routes, and they wind up being totally fucked. Like worse things than, so
we have a leader. It is leaderless. That is this condition, this situation where you have only two positions, completely up or completely down, completely black or completely white. And I don't mean that in any kind of double entendre.
Yeah,
is a product of a leaderless, a society with no clear goal other than descent. I feel that is the
descent, as in going down.
Yes,
descent.
Down, spiral, what have you. I feel that is a lot of the issue, and so you can only transgress. And so people that point out the transgression, they create the critiques that will be used to conquer that society, in all honesty. And I think that's what a lot of those that had position and had the intellectual resource during the sexual revolution aimed at least. I think, because I don't think they have any ability to build. I think that it was, it's much like that quote in The Dark Knight. It's like, I'm a dog that caught a car. I wouldn't know what to do with it if I caught it. That kind of thing. It's very much like that.
Okay.
I feel now. I feel that the critiques that are made about the dissent can build, can conquer that desolate nihilism. I do think that it is possible to reach the moderate perspective, and the moderate perspective on this is going to seem extreme.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yes, it would. It's certainly extreme. You'd be asking something of people to find something within themselves to show restraint, and not just
absolutely
seek pleasure every second of the day.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so it's a difficult old thing. So what's our consensus then on where the line is between pornography and tasteful nudes? It is what like, I know you. What's you don't figure if they're like I said, I tried to put it very specifically. If they're naked, so if they're just naked, I mean, there's a way just you can have a single naked person, and it's obviously more pornography than other ways. If they're just like in an openly sexual pose, you can tell.
Yes.
Let's say. So there is. It's all very instinctual, really, isn't it? It's a very hard thing to sort of. This is why it's so problematic, maybe.
Well, you remember with. Is it Manet that had the paintings where he had the women looking at the point of view, and the salons had a real problem with that? Was that Manet? I can't remember who.
With the like the open bush shot with the leg spread thing, that's Origin of the World or something like that. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
The Impressionists?
No. Was that it? Was it Impressionism? I thought it was before. I thought it was like Rococo, where they were having.
You're thinking of Boucher or something? Is that what you mean?
Boucher. At this point,
he had a lot of nudes. He had a lot of nudes. He would have some fairly scandalous nudes. But sorry, what's the point? Then maybe it'll be more clear.
The point is when the salons had the main problem, not with the nudity itself, but with the eyes staring at the viewer to make eye contact, and that was the problem they had.
Well,
so, I do think there is something to be said about, and this is another second wave feminism example, the female gaze. I think there is.
What's female gaze again? I can't even remember what's female gaze. Just
it's basically
the wanton gaze. Is it?
The desires of women being projected. I think that's how they position it, something of that effect.
Right.
But basically, the idea of the salons is a little puritanical, and of course, this is where the I don't want to say degenerates, but those that were more aimed at the liberation of sexuality could easily find a critique to be made with this response.
Yes,
because it seems as like them staring at the point of view that's really the goods that's sneaking in this ideology,
Yeah. So I mean,
and it did.
The kudos to them, because they do have to draw.
Exactly
if you're going to attempt to draw a line anywhere on anything, it's always going to be hard. And when you say, okay, but this is the whole problem we have nowadays, is nobody tries to draw a firm line, and nobody wants to take the responsibility of making that decision, because there's always going to be somebody who's like, and there's always going to be somebody who is somewhat innocently cut off and suffers from the line unjustly. But this is the whole. What was formerly understood about the world, difficult decision making, is that, you know, as they say, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. You can't do anything without upsetting somebody somewhere. And we do this now so that it just basically everybody is upset all the time and offended,
Yes.
or like, you know, getting trampled because but just everybody's just fleeing from the last time someone tried to make a firm decision about anything. But if you're going to be the type of person that's going to draw a line, like they decided to draw that line there, where the female gaze, let's say, and it sounds puritanical or unjust, but they drew a line.
Yeah.
So that's at least something. Mm-hmm. That's an attempt to withdraw from where they saw a potential extreme, which they rightly saw as a road you could go down that was ruinous, and they drew that line there, which is fine, you know, in a way. Like even myself, like I don't even disagree. Like I said, I don't disagree with a lot of the hippie era stuff. Potentially, it's more like afterwards I find where they corporatized it and commodified it, and then made it into a, you know, so the line should have been maybe drawn there. Certainly, I think before, like in the era between the hippie revolution and when they all turned into yuppies, somewhere there, and a great evil occurred. I think an attitude to life, yeah, somehow, but more so like because it's very easy to pinpoint the hippies as the ones who started it, and they, you know, they did to a certain degree, but they didn't deserve as much blame as those who commodified the attitude, I would say.
The hippies were just.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
I'll stop.
Yeah, the hippies were just appealing to a lot of individualistic psychoanalysis tested theories about their own personal happiness, their own personal gain, and freedom, individuality, the likes, and so they were easily manipulated because of that. They were no longer saw themselves as a community, other than, you know, people I go to shows with do drugs and fuck in the back of the van. They were easily.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but they were somewhat reacting rightly against the 50s. 50s was the first time when things became really. They had that vision of the Jetsons' future, and it was like food and everything became incredibly processed. There was a process for everything that they thought would explain and describe everything in the world and in the way they could live. So that the hippies probably rightly reacted against that in many ways. So they could see, which is, and in fact, their failure was when that world actually overtook them, stole their ideas, and like made another process out of that. And like, this is the world of today.
Yes, they were mainly rebelling against the Madison Avenue advertising lifestyle. You know, the Coca-Cola, the people that were imitating Coca-Cola ads and things, like that. That's basically what the 60s, you know, the youth. It's like, oh, that's fine because it's an idealization and it's meant to, you know, sell products to the boomers of the day. So it's probably easy not to be that. However, you know, those people had a society. We're delving into something where society is about finding the next stone to turn up, and you know, let the creatures crawl from underneath it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, so what have we determined here? We've determined that you have to draw a line somewhere, and you have to, whoever decides what that line is has a lot of responsibility, and he's going to piss off a lot of people. Yeah, and some people will be unjustly scorned by, or, you know, feel the brunt of that. But that's what you got to do, and that's one of these items of duty and responsibility that is missing from the modern world, is the person that says, okay, I will do that. And they know that some people will suffer from what they decide to do, but overall there's a benefit, because you can't let something carry on into its extreme all the time.
Well, it's like Larry Flint. Larry Flint used the ideas of the where the salon put their foot down, but this new world that was being built to combat obscenity was already on the decline, and so there was no one there to. When Larry was like, "Well, is that art or is it pornography?" Nobody was there to be like, "Shut the fuck up, Larry."
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So once again, we're more or less in agreement, are we, or what? Is there something?
Do you want to not be in agreement? Do you want me to just like try and act like I,
No. Well, okay. Would you say, like, did I ever post anything that you thought, oh, he's being very risque there? He's being very. That's too much. That's too much for me. Did I ever, or did you?
Post wise, no. I don't think so. I mean, I really like the. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be thinking about things I don't like. What do I not like? Shit.
Roughly on the topic though of if you can.
Your content's called traditional Western art, right? And then you post like cars and women and shit. Like, what the fuck's that about? How about that?
That's true.
Take that, Brendan.
No, they got me there. But I tried to change the name. The only reason I haven't changed the @ on Twitter is because there's all kinds of hassles with that. I would have changed the whole thing to Aureus Press and got rid of traditional.
Yeah.
I've only still got that because because of the @ on Twitter it's like all my old tweets will be gone. I still might. I'm very tempted. Maybe I should.
Well,
I might just do that. But also Facebook actually won't let me change it. I cannot change my name on Facebook. They won't let me. Yeah.
Very
so
cool.
What can I do? And I never liked that name. Anyways, it was like not really. It
was good propaganda. It worked.
Well, yeah, and it's still like effective, and I would still mostly post traditional Western art, let's say, and I wrote a book about the need of tradition in art. So
you did do that.
Yes, but yeah, I moved into that area of my personal likes that are outside of what you would call traditional art, where I get sketchy, heavy metal, and chicks, whatever. But it's like. To me, it all makes sense, of course, but I can't validate it in a really good explanation. I've tried. I can almost sort of validate it as an extension or how it all fits in together. As long as like my main thing is against the philosophy of modernism, right? Which is a specific thing. So this is what people don't get. Like a lot of people. This is where I get some of the grief from the anti-coomers or the tradcasts. Well, because they think it's all about. They think when you say you're traditional Western anything, it's all about hard Christianity and they think it's about a specific thing. When I was only ever there to bitch about modernism and not bitch about it, but like attack it and say, look, I think this is a mistake and it's not just a natural progression of art and so forth. Everything we normally talk about. So yeah, but I knew that I was branching away from that. I don't need to give this fucking lengthy explanation for your random made up thing to bitch about. Anyways, it's all. But yeah, but just for those, because a lot of people do attack me about that. But I mean, they don't. Some people did, but now they know that either I'm stuck with it, or I'm still in that world, or what I'm doing is still an extension of that. Does that make sense, or do I sound like stupid?
Because I'm supposed to be disagreeing with you, right?
Hit me with some disagreements. Okay, so yeah, continue your attack. So what would you say about what I said?
Shit. Let's see. Okay. Disagreement.
You could say that. I mean, I could invent some myself, probably, but
then I can agree. There we go. Oh, I'm getting.
But it's like, I did intend, and I do want to change the name to be for the reason of being broader and not confusing anybody. But there was limitations on me changing the name, and that I wasn't.
I don't think there needs to be a name change now that you put it that way. I mean, this could have been like a private message, and I could have been in there, wringing my hands with you, which would have been fun. But now it's out there in the public, and you're just gonna have to live with that, bud.
Yeah. No, I don't mind. None of it particularly.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. No, that was a good. That was
I'm
a decent
putting you on.
Well, okay. Think of another one then. Hit me with another one.
Here's another what?
Something I would post that you were like, oh, that's a bit, I don't know, or something like that.
Well, now, like I said, now that I know that that's the game, it does. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I content wise, you know, we just keep on going where we're going. Whatever, you know, if you're going to be just using this as a launch pad for your brand and your craft, and you're doing it right. I mean, that's the way to do it.
Well, it's more like I don't the way the world is and the way the world's going. I don't believe I never did think we can just go. A lot of people think, oh, you just like post statues all day, so we can go back to that doing that
right.
all. But it's not like that. No, it's more like I want to point out that there was a false philosophy of art introduced that is a trap that you can't get out of. As we made that video, Trap for Your Mind, which really is the explanation of that. And it's like, no, it's like you can never get out of it. You've got to know about it and abandon it just to move on to something new, which won't be the same as the old. Whatever it is, I don't know. Whatever potential new art that isn't false could be, it's not going to be like Hellenistic statues, and it's not going to be splatter painting. It's going to be something else. But
well, hopefully we can attract minds that are going to build that. If we can be a part of that, then great. One thing,
no, just to make them aware of the things that what things are and what things, where most people are so clueless about art nowadays. It's just, or what has happened. Almost every other aesthetics art page will dabble in modernism, this and that, and they'll have that ethos at work. And you can always find like Art Collect or one of these things, one of the big ones. They'll post a lot of mostly bullshit, and they'll post classical stuff as well.
Oh yeah.
But you can always find a kind of artsy looking photo of some bullshit thing as well. But mostly it's somewhat transparent, at least to me. But it's always a signal when they post something that's modernisty, that might appeal to in a mass way. It's usually because it's fulfilling that code that they've invented for themselves of the gimmick or whatever.
Well, what I've seen with the modern art is that they will post a piece of modern art that's in some mansion, and so now you're supposed to believe that this is that's the new one.
Yeah, that's the new thing. They post it alongside some beautiful classical thing.
Yes.
And then an association in your mind, and it's like, oh wow, so it is all the same.
They do it in museums too.
Yeah, but I would say then, okay, take away the classical building, and what are you left with? Some bullshit fucking piece of junk. You know what I mean? And do the reverse, you've still got a beautiful picture.
Yes.
So that's what they got to think about. But we're totally off the topic here, are we not?
Doesn't matter.
Sexy nudes and
sex,
porn. But yeah, I guess we covered it as good as we could. I guess. I mean, what else can you say about it? I guess that's it, really. Just to be balanced and to not freak out over nudes specifically, like, and where the line where it becomes porn and where it becomes unhealthy.
When you feel like
instinctual, or
when you start to feel that you're being lame and a bitch, don't do that. How about that for these people?
That's good, yeah.
When you
that's good. When you start to feel lame and a bitch, yeah. Do they feel that? Do they have that valve inside themselves, that pressure gauge of bitchiness and lameness?
That's the real that's really what we're working towards. We can make people think like, hey guy.
The varieties of psychology, like, how do we are we not? No, I think we've covered that as good as we could. I don't see what else we could get out of it. I mean, there's more to it, but I feel like we've scratched the surface of it. But like, really,
we should have did this show naked. That's how we could have solved this issue.
I'll include nudes when I export the video. I'll throw in some random nudes. Like, I'll cover you with nudes there.
Awesome.
Why not?
One of us in a suit. Anyway. One of us naked. What's that?
Well, I can show paintings of nudes on YouTube, right? Obviously, so I could do something.
I don't know about that. Do you want to chance it? Is a real question.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, that these many people have said this, but all these companies have rules to set up to basically just cancel you when they want to, and you're like, "Whoa, I didn't break any rules." It's like, did you?
That's true. That's true.
How do you know? You know, so
yeah,
that's kind of
this would be a good topic to have like a third person on, and you can sit back there like Ed McMahon and kind of back me up and like laugh and like add your comments.
Yes,
and like have a third person and like grill them apart, even if it's antagonistic and doesn't agree. Maybe that's something we should try.
Yeah, try to get somebody in here that I'm just going to scream, "Shut up, idiot, moron."
Yeah, well,
I think like people that disagree with me. All right, I'll tell you that much right now. If you disagree, I'm going to.
You're gonna be an attack dog.
Yeah, that.
I'll have to mute you or something.
Like, yeah, that's it.
It'll be like good cop, bad cop.
Very dramatic, like yes.
Yeah. The guest. We just hear the harangue, like interrogation. Yeah, good idea.
Thank you for coming on, douchebag. Wait, we don't
make me unmute him. Don't make me unmute him. Give him what we want. Yeah. No, we said everything. We can't. No, okay. Let's just conclude the nudity and the sex topic. Okay, so like we said everything we're good. There's heroic nudity. It's always going to be there. There's always going to be nudes. There's always even going to be like the sexual nudes as well. And I'm like, oh, like, Jesus. But like at the same time, we're anti-pornography in the broader sense of like, you know, obviously pornography is like watching a video of people. But even like, oh shit, I don't know. This is hard.
Yes, but there's
like what? Okay, so if you could set up, if you had media control of the world, let's say, so what would you say is allowable pornography or unallowable? Like, what would you would you have an answer? Would you totally like exterminate all, like burn all scenes of sex and it's all over, or would you have a certain allowable something or other?
I mean, I feel like it would have to be up to discussion for it to be declared obscene. You know, I mean, first of all, you'd have to have something that crosses the barrier to where it would warrant the discussion. You would have to have definitely some stringent kind of control on the subject. However, not in so many terms puritanical, which I think puritanical is more so kind of a critical term I don't really like. But still, something where it's hard to say because
it should be freely available, and certainly not where like children can see it and stuff.
Absolutely not. Pornography is a subversive medium, and so it's always. I mean, it really depends. You know, there's lots of films I've seen like there would be just the way that they captured something for like a second almost ruins the entire movie. Like that VV Witches movie that I was telling you about. I almost turned it off because I felt that the intent was to sexually paint these children in a sexual manner, and so I almost turned it off. And it was a very short time period. So there's movies like that. No, you don't get to have that scene. What the fuck are you? What benefit is that? You know?
Yeah. So, it's a tough question. Really, it always is, always was. Where to draw the line? How do you? Because I mean, if you totally outlawed it, I mean, you should. It's one of those things. Let's say that should be outlawed, but it should be like, okay, you can outlaw it, but people are going to do it in a piratical way. You know, there'll be continued, there'll be contraband and black markets, but so be it. So be it.
Well,
it's better to have it outlawed officially and have punishment for those that get caught, just to keep it as a standard of, okay, we don't think this is good or healthy overall. We don't. It's not the same as like a serial killer or something, but it's you know what I mean. So it just like be accepting of the fact there will be black markets and things and underground things.
Yeah,
and leave it at that.
What you do is you you can incentivize good behavior. If you try to restrict things, you'll just have those type of minds, and those type of minds, the subversive black market interests, they're always cunning. They always put a lot of cleverness in it because they're making money. And when you have minds that make money that are central on an issue, they'll make their money, and then they'll normalize it over a 50-year period. But if you disincentivize it and you incentivize other types of behavior, whereas finding a wife, finding a community that doesn't rely on rootless isolation, that pornography cannot breed pornographers in without rootless, sad seekers of dopamine and serotonin, and that is, I think, how you combat this way of life.
Well, I think we have to accept it as a sort of a natural law of the world and of human life, and just recognize when it goes down that dark road, and there is a line you have to draw. And where it is exactly, I wouldn't put it at the puritanical level myself. I would allow probably quite a lot to myself to a certain degree. Well, I mean, like even at one point early on, I put out, this is like years ago now, when I first came out with the book, I put out a call, I think on Facebook. I was like, is there any trad thoughts out there who want to pose with my book, like looking sexy or something? And I got a bunch of them did.
Hell,
I was like,
yeah.
I'll send you a copy. Just take a photo of yourself with the book, like late at night. And I got a few, like probably 6 or 7 of them. Yeah, it was pretty. And again, people were bitching at me, like, what are you doing? Like, but I was like, well, what am I doing? This is hilarious. And I love it.
It got done.
But so that, I mean, I was almost a quasi pornographer there myself. I mean, I didn't, according to some, like I didn't say like be naked or anything. Even that doesn't meet the criteria, as long as they're not naked and kissing.
Put book on boobies. Yeah.
Well, it's like look beautiful, and like I got some beautiful. I got them somewhere. Yeah, a few of them, but it was obviously like very what's the word? This is the kind of thing I love to do sometimes. That sort of ostentatious, slightly retarded,
Yes. Well, it's
hilarious thing.
Character. I mean, the product has life. It has personality behind it. I mean, who doesn't want to? That's always been good for the artist, is to be able to put his personal soul into the work. Why not? I mean, I don't see any issue with that, as long as I agree with it. If I don't,
yeah, it's kind of hilarious how we are like at once we're at the same time we're kind of like sort of rebellious and pissing certain people off, but at the same time we're like demanding like certain traditional values.
Yeah.
It's like both things at once, like the double side of the sword or whatever. But that's fine. Yeah. That just shows that maybe there's some kind of weird life in it, that it's like a weird new thing. It doesn't fit into a previous category, let's say.
I think we should force the hand of the anti-traditionalists upon on our work, our research, and our criticisms. That's something that I have come to the conclusion of years ago. Is okay. Well, what do? I mean, if I paint a scene with a beautiful family and house and whatnot, and I put that in the modern art exhibit, let me just hang back and hear what they have to say.
Right.
Because I bet it's going to be seething.
Oh yeah.
And that's hilarious to me.
Yeah, exactly. It is hilarious. Yeah,
it's the new kitsch.
New kitsch. That's right. Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, that's true. That is true. So yeah. So that's it.
I think we did it.
I think we did it. Yeah. And the fire went out long ago. Of course, I can't like keep the fire going in here and talk. I'd have to like go every few minutes.
Yeah.
The stove is actually pretty small. I should get a larger stove. That's the problem. It's a beautiful little Art Nouveau number.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got it on. It wasn't like, or maybe it was eBay. It might have been eBay.
Oh yeah, cool. Did you build that area you're in?
I built it, yeah.
You did?
Yeah, yeah I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
A few years ago now, yeah.
Right,
I
so
did.
you
It's
do
not like
carpentry.
the windows are a bit shabby. I would do a much better job on the windows now. I know a lot more now than I did at the time. And also my masonry is a bit sloppy. You can see a lot of what can you see there? You know, you can see the mortar on the stone basically.
Oh
But,
yeah.
you know, it's quite. I should have cleaned that up a good bit more.
Break it down, Brendan, and try again.
I could. I have a scrub. Yeah, you can still scrub it. I could clean it up if I had the effort, but I've got other things I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'll show you this. I won't put this on the video, but look at this. So for the cover of my book, my second book. Did I tell you about this?
No.
It's a science fiction. It's a science fiction.
Great.
It's like a pagan science fiction.
Badass.
So in it, there's a scene where there's a meteor with a giant gorgon head on it, and so I'm going to make that. I'm painting a cover based on that. So I made, just to get the light and everything perfect, I made the gorgon head out of clay, and I hung it up here and put a spotlight on it. I've got it right here beside me actually, to draw it and get the picture. Whoops.
Oh shit! I see. Yeah.
Oh, what's happening? Hold on. What's happening here? You see that, or is it too?
I see the light, the gorgon. I can see it. Yeah. Okay. Get the light off of it. So. Oh wow, that's badass.
Yeah. And so, I have drawn that.
Oh shit! Look at that.
Oh, too light.
Yeah, too light. There you go.
So I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna work that onto an oil painting. So that'll be like a meteor in space with a face on it.
Badass.
Yeah. So that's what's been going on here.
How long is it going to be till you finish that?
As soon as I get that painting done, the rest of it's done, and some editing.
The book's written?
It's written, yeah.
Oh fuck, it's awesome.
It's got to be edited, and I need some help with that. So a couple more months, that'll be done. Yeah.
Stoked. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
Sounds good. I think we wrapped it up.
Yeah.
Oh man, I should have said that earlier. What?
We're talking about when you should jerk off and fucking like that. Whatever.
Very traditional.
Super trad.
Very trad. Yeah, trad is the word.
So let's end it there.
All right, killer. Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. See ya.